Hey everyone, this is Ike, and it's been a long time. I'm very aware. As you can see, I'm back doing videos after probably about a year of not doing videos. Reason being, mainly it's because I want to be back in my own place, to have the creative outlet and the creative space to be able to do what I want and absorb the natural energy around me. I think a good way for me to reintroduce my way back on the platform is just to do kind of like a sit-down retrospect video. This is going to be about the Wonder Girls. It's going to be easy for me to talk about the Wonder Girls, which is a second-generation K-pop group that debuted in 2007. It'll be easy for me to talk about them because it's a group that I followed from pretty much the point they started to the point of disbandment. Bear me, y'all. I'm trying to do this from memory. Let me take a shot first. So boom, Wonder Girls started as a quintet that was based out of South Korea. It was 5 members originally: Sunye, Yeun, Sohee, Sunmi, and Hyuna. They debuted under JYP Entertainment, he was also like a singer. I didn't follow his career, but he was also like a singer and like prominent producer back in his time as well in the entertainment industry in South Korea. He found these girls, I think, through like a series of like auditions. I think some of them had been training with the company, some of them auditioned to join the company, and then shortly after they debuted on Wonder Girl. Sunyi being the leader, the main vocalist, Yeun being a lead vocalist, Sunmi being a standard vocalist, Sohee being the maknae and a vocalist, and I think she was the lead dancer at that time. I don't really remember, but I think she was the lead dancer. And then it was Hyuna, Hyuna was the maknae? I think Hyuna was the maknae. Hyuna was the main rapper, main dancer, and she also did supporting vocals as well. They popped up on the scene with a gangster lean with this song called Irony, which at the time I didn't really like. I still don't like it now. I like it a little bit more, but to me it's still one of those ones where you skip when you hear it. Like even if you're washing dishes, you'd be like, oh, and you skip the song. Shortly after the release of Irony, Hyuna started missing a lot of like performances and stuff like that because I believe she was sick with some kind of gastrointestinal. She had fainting spells or something like that. Like I said, I'm trying to recall this off the top of my mind as it actually happened. But I remember she was missing performances and stuff like that, and then Sohee and Sunmi were kind of filling her raps for her. Eventually she ended up leaving the company altogether, which, no shade, I'm kind of glad she did, because I just didn't feel like they didn't feel like a group to me. Like, I don't know, I just didn't really like her in the Wonder Girls. I thought her moves was too powerful, and Wonder Girls was more dainty and cute, and she had a grown woman aura about her. So Hyuna left the spot vacant, so Yubin stepped in. I don't think she was a trainee at JYP. No, she wasn't a trainee at JYP. I don't remember where she was a trainee from, but she was from a different company, and that company sent her over to JYP to, I guess, join the Wonder Girls. So Yubin stepped in at that particular point. Yubin became the main rapper, and she also did supporting vocals as well. So he became the main dancer. That was left vacant by Hyuna, who had left the group a few months prior to. And I think at that particular time, Sunyi became a lead dancer. So everyone kind of got their roles shifted based on who's in the group and stuff like that. Then they came out with Tell Me. Now mind you, Tell Me was originally recorded with Hyuna. They had completed the album and everything. I'm almost certain they had already completed the album with Hyuna in mind, and she dropped that at the last minute. Yubin came in and kind of redid some stuff at the last minute. But the Tell Me song was actually recorded with Hyuna, and the video was shot with her. The album version doesn't even have Yubin's vocals on it. It was only in the single version, and then it was re-released with her version on it later, on a later single release. We'll talk about that later. Oh god, it's a lot to uncover. So Tell Me came in. It took this nation by storm. Everybody loved Tell Me in South Korea. And I remember well, first let me stop. Let me tell you how I found out about Wonder Girls. I found out about Wonder Girls because back then message boards were a big deal. Like everybody, well, on my side, or like we were all into, like me and my friends, we were all in the message boards and stuff like that. You know, the message board is where you have a community of people who are dedicated to typically a singer or singers, and you talk about the performances, and you know, it's just a lot of banter and stuff like that. What a time to be alive. And one of the members of the message board that I was a part of, they had a picture of the Wonder Girls, and I was like, who are these 5 Asian gals? Like, who are these 5 chicks? Because, you know, I probably said, who is these 5 Chinese chicks? Because, you know, I don't know why, but everyone thinks that because you're Asian, you're automatically Chinese or Japanese, when they don't realize there's all these other Asianness out there. So Tell Me came out. Tell Me took over the nation. They were dubbed as JYP's they were dubbed as South Korea's little sisters. They were dubbed something prestigious, you know what I'm saying? And they were winning awards. They were sweeping house. Everybody was doing the Tell Me dance, and I remember I would didn't understand the word they were saying at the time, but I just loved the song. I loved the group, and I just felt like this was, at this particular point, this was what the Wonder Girls was meant to be. After Tell Me was done slaying the charts, they came out with another song called This Fool, which was also, I think, from that album, which I thought was actually a cool song. I thought it was one of the, it was a good follow-up single to me, better than Irony. Not as good as Tell Me, but at that particular point, one of the stronger songs that they had showcased. And I think around that time, they also came out with other songs like Wishing Upon a Star and I don't remember if This Time came out, but yeah, Wishing Upon a Star I think came out before So Hard as well. I didn't like that song. I found it to be boring. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like I said, the details of time kind of clouds my memory. But then they came out with So Hot, which was like another, it wasn't an album, but it was a single. Now, mind you, also when artists release songs over in South Korea, they don't always put out an album with each release. You know, like here in the Western market, every time you come out with an album, well, that's how it used to be. Anytime you came out with the album, you would come out with singles to support it, but sometimes they would just do a single release and then go back into obscurity to work on their next single or work on the album. But they would release a single, promote the single, and then boom, they're gone. You know, they're not going to spend 5-6 months to a year promoting that single or album. They just move on to the next thing. So they came out with So Hot, and this was in 2008, and this was the single that had the Eubin's version of Tell Me on it. So Hot was cute. It's very, very campy. It's very, very veiny, but the Wonder Girls aren't like that. So I think this was just kind of a way to kind of maybe beef up their sexiness a little bit. It's a song that, you know, I will listen to, but it's not like one of my favorite Wonder Girls songs. And this song was pretty successful too. I'm looking at the, you know, they won the Melon Music Awards, Mnet 20's Choice Award. So they, you know, this song actually performed very, very well with them as well. Now here we go. Like I said, they came out with So Hot and then they dipped. They jumped out of there. They was out. They was done. And then they came back again with another single called Nobody, and this is where like they really took off. Nobody, it was a really, really catchy song. I don't necessarily really care for the song, but I see what it did for them, and it did a lot for them. It actually catapulted them. Very, very successful. It was around this time of the Nobody Syndrome where JYP, who was, I think he was like the group's maybe producer or something like that, but he was one of the figureheads of the label that they were signed to. He wanted them to focus on the Western market, so the American market. So I think at this particular point, this is when they started to maybe study English a little bit. It was around this time. I don't know if this is true, but it will make sense that, you know, Nobody's taking off. You know, you want an international release. Let's start gearing them up for that. So I think they were probably planning for a American debut a year or two prior to it actually happening. So yeah, it was between this time. They actually came over to America. They came over here and they started as an opening act for the Jonas Brothers. I thought this was a great move because Wonder Girls have that kind of preteen, they have the youthfulness to where they can attract the preteen audiences, but they also have the matureness to, you know, maybe do like the teenagers as well. Now, I don't know if that did anything for them in particular. It doesn't seem like it made much of a stamp. If anything, I think people were probably like, who are these people? Who are these Chinese people? During this time, I believe the girls, particularly Sunmi and Sohee, had dropped out of school because, of course, they're going to be over here in America, so they're not going to have a way to really dedicate time to studies. It was also during this time that you can visibly tell, I can visibly tell, Sunmi just seemed totally disconnected from it all. Like, it just seemed like she didn't want to be there. She stepped off that plane in California or New York or whatever, and she smelled all that nasty American food, and she was like, they ended up appearing on the Wendy Williams show after that, which I thought was a great move. Now, this is Wendy prior to her becoming like a household name. Like, this was early Wendy. Still a great deal because we saw what Wendy became. And then they appeared on, they also appeared on So You Think You Can Dance. I think that's the name of the show. It was a dance competition style show. I don't remember the name of it, but they appeared on that. They performed Nobody. The American audience seems to be, in my mind, we thought that they were cute. Maybe not quite what we were looking for at that time. I don't know why, but so boom, we had our second lineup change in the group, and this is a matter of, I believe, about 2 or 3 years of the group even being up and going. So 2 lineup changes in 3 years, that's a little rough. This time it was Sunmi. Sunmi decided that, like I said, she was over the American way. She didn't want anything to do with it. She didn't speak the language all of that well. The momentum was slow. They didn't take off right away, as I'm believing JYP expected them to do. Sunmi said, peace, I'm out, I'm going back. And they would say, like, I remember they were saying like she was going to do her studies and stuff like that. I personally don't think she was going to do her studies. I think that was a good crutch to fall back on. I think she just was tired of America and she was homesick and didn't want to do it anymore. I think is what it was. So she dipped. They hired a replacement of Hatem Lim, as some call her. She was actually a trainee at JYP. Now she's really talented in her own way. I wouldn't say she's the best singer or dancer, but she could speak 3 different languages. She could speak English fluently, the best out of all 5, 6, 7 of the girls who have been a part of the group so far. So she would have been a great addition because she's going to be able to help with the language barrier because her English was so good. So Hatem stepped in and kind of took over Sunmi's shoes and just kind of propelling the group forward. The American market, like I said, I thought it was a great move because she'll be able to better bridge that gap between, you know, the native English speaking people and then the group who didn't speak English all that well but were developing their English skills. I'm gonna be honest, y'all owe Hatem an apology because y'all were downright terrible to her. Absolutely terrible. I remember reading the comments and people were saying stuff like, oh, she's not pretty, she doesn't sing as well or dance as well as Sunmi. And mind you, this is after her first and second performance. Y'all expect her to be acting like Beyonce after her first, second gig? Eventually the fandom grew to love her and she just blended in as one of the 5 girls. Like I said, she propelled the group forward. And they seemed to have a different spark about them. Like, I don't know, the clouds over them didn't seem so exhausted and tired. They seemed a little bit more happy with this particular lineup. Probably the happiest I have seen them. Also, at this point, they went on a US tour. Yes, they did tour in the United States, the Wonder Girls. They were one of the first to do it, get it together. After that, they kind of did a cross promotion where they kind of went back to South Korea to work on more music while still trying to kind of navigate the playing field of the Western market as well. So they came out with another release, which is 2 Different Tears. 2 Different Tears came out in 2010. This is the first single that has Hatem on it. And like I said, they were kind of simultaneously promoting in South Korea and US at the same time. I know they were exhausted because they were just bouncing back and forth. 2 Different Tears is a cute song. It's actually one of my favorite Wonder Girls songs because it has a key change. We all love a key change. But for some reason, it just didn't hit with the South Korean audience or the US audience. They performed on like music shows and stuff. I don't really remember if they won anything for it. I want to say that they maybe did because I don't know, but I remember people saying that they were losing their popularity because Girls' Generation, who was another amazing second generation K-pop group, was emerging because of Wonder Girls' absence. Nevertheless, they promoted in South Korea, did a few festivals and stuff like that, and they shot back to the United States. Nothing really happened with them after this until 2011. 2011 comes and they are very, very focused on the US market. They come out with the Teen Nick. I want to say it's a movie. They say it's a movie, but it's not long enough to be a movie for me. So maybe it's like more of like I don't know what you would call that. It's not quite a TV show, not quite a movie. It's not quite a docuseries, but I mean, I guess you can call it a movie that's like an hour long, you know? To me, that's not a movie. Like a long short film. We can call that a very long short film. So yeah, this was also a good move with them to pair them with the Teen Nick brand because, like I said, they had the youthfulness to capture the preteen girls. They're pretty enough that the hormonal boys is going to notice them as well as the teenagers who are coming of age and now are 16, 17 years old, moving on from Nickelodeon, but still have a little bit of their youthfulness intact. They came out with this project called Wonder World, which, like I said, they simultaneously promoted over in South Korea and United States. And the title track from that song was Be My Baby, which is a cute song. Reminds me of a Christmas song. It never sat right with me when I saw them perform this song in April or May because it just has a Christmas vibe, which, I mean, it's technically not a Christmas song. Like, they don't say Christmas at all. I think with this album too, the girls were involved a lot in the production, so we saw a lot more of like producing and writing from the girls themselves. You can definitely tell that they're getting older, they're coming of age. You know, the label is loosening up the whip just a little bit, giving them a little bit more liberties, a little more freedom. I believe Be My Baby performed very, very well for them as well. It's one of their songs, like one of their signature songs. When people think of Wonder Girls, they think of that song. And I want to say it was around this time. Like I said, my dates may be wrong. This is when they came out with Like Money from Akon. It was around the same time as well. I didn't like Money. I thought it was a boring song. I thought Akon was too old looking to be like, for that collaboration. Akon was just too old. I thought the song sucked. Then they came out with Wonder Party. It was a very cute, a fun kind of single thing that they had going on there. Lots of neon colors and stuff like that. The title track from that was Like This. That was the main single. This was at this point in 2012. They also came out with DJ's Mind. That was part of the Wonder Girls Teen Nick movie, long short story thing that they had. I thought that song sucked too. I thought it was boring. And probably like maybe for like the next year, they continued to promote as a group with, you know, the third lineup. Things got really quiet, suspiciously quiet. You're wondering what's going on with them. Why are we not really hearing anything? There's obviously a shakeup or something that's going on with the group because they've been consistently putting out music, and then all of a sudden they stopped consistently putting out music. What's going on? Well, it was at this point where the girls were getting older. They were probably getting burnt out. They were tired of everything, not necessarily of the entertainment life, but they just wanted to change of pace. So people were starting to phase out. Developmentally speaking, people's minds were starting to evolve and change because now they were older, as opposed to when they started out. Maybe they're 15, 16, 17 years old. At this point, they're more like 21, 22-ish. I don't know. I'm just saying they grew up. The group remained kind of tight-lipped and quiet. The girls would come out with solo stuff. Like, I think Yeun, she came up under like a different name, which I don't necessarily know I understand. Hot Felt. Wasn't really crazy about the name. It reminded me of like a Hot Pocket. But people were beginning to wondering like what happened to the Wonder Girls. And like I said, a year went by, 2 years went by, 3 years went by. I remember I'm just kind of like, what's going on? And I think at that time I probably started to shift towards Sistar and maybe Girls' Generation. I started to focus on there because there's this absence, there's this void, what's going on, and even my K-pop fix. So then I think maybe like around 2013, 2014, it was announced that the group was coming back together, getting off of their hiatus. But without Sohee, who, like I said, she just got older, her interests changed. You could tell she wasn't really a singer, didn't really want to be a singer to begin with, but hey, if someone's giving me an opportunity to get out there and get my face out there, I'm gonna take the chances too. So Sohee, I don't blame you. Sohee jumped ship, leaving just 4. And then I think shortly after that, there was this whole thing with Sunyi. She ended up getting married. She was the oldest member. She was the leader. And so she just, you know, she, like I said, she got married. She wanted a different thing in her life, which just left 3. So left 3 girls. But hey, there's Sunmi. Sunmi has had enough time off. You know, she's had enough time to kind of stay to herself and say to hell with all of this and, you know, miss the group and miss the performing aspect of it. So they invited her back, which she accepted. So now the group was now a foursome. It was a quartet. It was Yeun, who was now the new leader, main vocalist of the band, and at this point they became a band. So she started playing keyboards and guitar, and she also did, I think, rhythmic guitar. Then we had Sunmi, who was a lead vocalist. At this particular point, she played bass. We had Yubin, who was still the main rapper of the group, arguably probably the visual and the drummer of the group. And then we had Lim, who was actually Sunmi's replacement. So it was very interesting to have the original member and the member that replaced them in the same group, in the same lineup, right? They started recording the album as a band, and then they came out with a reboot. I thought this album was very slept on. Now, I didn't really care for it personally. I thought the songs were a little bit too slow. I thought it was just too low energy. It was just too low-key for my personal taste. I Feel You, I thought, was a boring choice of a first single, especially that comeback single. I don't know what they were thinking with that, to be honest. Nevertheless, we were happy to have the girls back. And mind you, this is 2015. So a new life has been breathed into the group. I don't think they had much success with the awards. However, they were playing instruments. They were writing their own songs. They were more in control. Probably they had no choice because the label had kind of somewhat stopped backing them at this point. So a year went by. They came out with another song called Why So Lonely. This was 2016 at this point. And I wasn't crazy about the title track, Why So Lonely. Though I thought it was a nice change of pace from what they've done because it had more of a reggae tone, reggae vibes to it. I just thought the song was just too slow. I thought their other songs from that single was better, like To the Beautiful You and Sweet and Easy. I thought those were stronger songs, maybe better contenders for a single. But at this point, like Why So Lonely was so successful, you know, they kind of had some kind of redemption because they didn't win any awards with the previous comeback. So they have this redemption with Why So Lonely. I'm thinking the group is on the up. They're going to give us maybe another comeback. I think I was in my mind expecting them to have one more comeback before they called it quits. You could definitely tell that the energy was a lot down. They were getting older, all of them, just in general, and it was time for them to move on at this point, because I think at this point it had probably been about 10, 11 years. I think somebody tagged me on Facebook. And I was like, Wonder Girls breaking up. Ain't no way. They just came out with Why So Lonely, and it was really successful. Like, what? But yes, they were calling it quits. After 10 years, the group decided to call it quits. And I was actually okay with that. I was kind of disappointed because that was the very first K-pop group that I stanned. And when I say stan, like, I knew the choreography. I knew, like, the dance. I knew it. Oh, I knew the harmonies. I had it, but I understood. And I also thought it was fitting for them to go, but I would have liked to have one more comeback. So And in 2017, they disbanded. They called it a wrap, and they all kind of went off to do their own things. It seems like they did it on good terms. Originally, I heard that the group some of the members wanted them to leave JYP altogether and then go to a different label, a different production company. But they were like, some of the members, in my mind, Yubin and Lin, were kind of like, no, we're scared. Like this, they've been so good to us. So they stayed, and then the other two left. I'm hoping for a reunion one day with all. I don't need Hyuna. Also, Lim actually is signed to Yubin's label. I thought that was so cute. You can tell that they're still really close friends because they were both like replacements that were kind of brought into like an already moving ship. So that was the Wonder Girls history in a nutshell from my point of view, how I saw things happening. Like I said, the details of time may be a little because I can't remember it all, and I've lived quite a life. What do you guys think? Did you guys like this video? I really enjoyed this. I know I was talking a lot at one time, but I really enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching this with me or listening. If you have any suggestions for maybe any other introspect videos in regards to any K-pop groups, I'll try to do one maybe at least once a week maybe. And if you want to see more, if you want to see less, definitely subscribe, like, and leave a comment. You all have a lovely night.